This morning, we are considering Subcommittee Chairman Smith's H.R. 4573. It is the International Megan's Law to prevent demand for child sex trafficking. This bill deals with an issue I know all of us want desperately to address: the horrendous exploitation of children overseas by adults traveling for purposes of engaging in so-called sex tourism. Unfortunately, this has become a growing industry in a number of countries which are ill-equipped to deal with an influx of child predators, including from the United States. This bill codifies existing law enforcement efforts to combat child sex tourism by establishing the Angel Watch Center within the Department of Homeland Security's Child Exploitation Investigation Center. The Angel Watch Center currently operates by combing through massive amounts of data from multiple agency sources to analyze foreign travel by convicted child sex offenders and determine whether notification to U.S. officials or foreign governments is warranted. This bill improves vastly the speed of the information that the Center receives and the staffing at the Center. Right now, there's one lady doing this, and it's often after the fact. This rectifies this, and it will allow the Center to better detect and report the travel of child predators so that that is prevented. It also requires the Center to maintain records of its work so that we have more information about how other countries are combating child sex tourism. Listen, I think all of us here who have worked with Congressman Smith over the years know we all owe him a debt of gratitude for his heartfelt commitment to this issue. And I want to thank him for his leadership and a long-standing dedication that I think has surpassed what anybody else has ever put into trying to track and do something about this issue. And I'd note that there was very close collaboration with the judiciary's majority and minority on this bill, and Ranking Member Engel and I look forward to working with our colleagues on this committee and the Judiciary Committee as we move forward to ensure that the bill's notification provisions are effective and satisfactory. Now, we also consider House Resolution 573 on the recent Boko Haram abductions. This Sunday is Mother's Day, but for hundreds of mothers in Nigeria, this will be another day of horrendous grief. Their daughters are missing, kidnapped from school by an Islamist terrorist group. This resolution puts the committee firmly on record in condemning this atrocious abduction of nearly 300 schoolgirls. Many around the world are just learning of the evil of Boko Haram. Unfortunately for the communities in northern Nigeria, the terror there has existed for years. Sadly, Boko Haram lives up to its name. That name, translated loosely, is Western education is a sin. They have killed more than 600 students and teachers. They have destroyed some 500 schools. They have denied more than 15,000 young Nigerians an education. They've killed many other people as well, but their focus has been on killing teachers and going after students and killing students or abducting them. Despite knowing the dangers, these young women were committed. They were all committed to their education, and they took that risk of trying to go to school. Boko Haram has been a focus of this committee, for which Subcommittee Chairman Smith and Ranking Member Bass deserve credit. Members will recall that it was pressure from this committee that was critical in convincing the State Department, forcing the State Department to designate Boko Haram as a terrorist organization, a foreign terrorist organization as the designation today. Indeed, the administration made that announcement in this room under pressure from the members of this committee, and it should not have taken so long. Commanders at the Pentagon have stated that Boko Haram is, quote, a threat to Western interests and one of the highest counterterrorism priorities in Africa. That's especially the case given Nigeria's position as the continent's most populous country and the largest economy in Africa. This resolution reaffirms our support for the assistance that the administration has offered to help the Nigerians find these girls. but more needs to be done. I'm pleased that we are considering an amendment I've authored and the ranking member supports to encourage more aggressive assistance. It's clear the Nigerian forces are struggling in this fight. Direct U.S. security assistance, intelligence, and advisors in the field can make a big difference in rescuing these girls and combating this threat. Years ago, a key military assist from the British was key in ridding Sierra Leone of a rebel insurrection. If you remember the Revolutionary United Front and the amputations of children that they used to conduct. More recently, French efforts in Mali have been key to combating that al-Qaeda threat there. Historically, the Nigerians have been reluctant to receive such outside aid. Luckily, that seems to be changing. We should be pushing on the Nigerian government to accept as much help as they can to save these young women now and to eliminate the Boko Haram threat soon. This resolution is part of that push. And lastly, we are also advancing H.R. 4587 to impose targeted sanctions on Venezuela's human rights abusers. Since February, thousands of student activists have taken to Venezuela's streets to highlight rampant crime and lawlessness. These peaceful protests have grown in size and frequency, and the response from their government, what has that been? President Maduro, who was Hugo Chavez's hand-picked successor, has unleashed a heavy-handed and violent response that has resulted in many senseless deaths, countless casualties, and the jailings of thousands, including many senior opposition leaders. In fact, a new human rights report released this week found a, quote, pattern of serious abuse carried out repeatedly by multiple security forces in multiple locations, unquote. And just yesterday, we learned of fresh reports of hundreds of more students being rounded up and tossed in jail. This legislation imposes targeted sanctions on those individuals who've carried out human rights abuses or who ordered the violence against those peaceful protesters. While the Obama administration has been supporting political talks in Caracas, there unfortunately has been little progress there. If the Maduro government is to agree to true reforms, to reverse the dissent, its leaders must feel the pressure. Targeting those officials who have directed this repression is a good place to start. Chairman Emeritus Ross Leitonen should be recognized for her efforts on this legislation, and I appreciate her and Chairman Salmon working in a bipartisan way with the Democratic members, Mr. Saris and other members here on this committee.